You're excited about what yoga can do for children. You love kids and you love yoga, but like many, you may be wondering what you're actually going to be able to do once you get certified to teach yoga to children. Children's yoga is a unique offering in the community and it doesn't often look like adult yoga. In fact, yoga studios are not the most popular place to teach yoga to children. So let's take a peek inside to the life of a children's yoga teacher to find out all the ways and places you can share yoga with children and to learn how to make a living doing what you love. So before we get started, I'm going to tell you about the Firework Test and invite you all to take the Firework Test for yourself. So if you haven't already, turn off your electronic devices, put your phone on silent, flip it upside down, close your other browser windows. You might even want to take out a real piece of paper and a pen to take notes. You're going to get some aha moments and ideas. And as I share the different ways that people are teaching kids yoga and making a living teaching yoga to children, some of you will think, oh yeah, I'm already doing that. Some of you will think, that's a good idea. Some of you are going to be like, oh yeah, that's my thing. I totally want to do it. And when you get that feeling, write it down. Draw a heart-shaped line around it, make some stars around it, whatever you do, because that's your dharma. That's your thing. That's what you were put here to do. And so really pay attention to the feeling in your body. When I say something and you find yourself getting excited about it, you get fireworks in your heart or a little pinwheel in your tummy or a rush of energy moving up your body, that's your signal that that's your truth. Whatever your signal is, we each have our own different body signals. Sometimes my eyes will well up with tears and I'm like, oh, that's the truth. That's my truth. And so that's my signal. So tune into your signal, whether it's fireworks or tears or a pinwheel in your tummy, because we never have to do what we think we should do. We can always do what we want to do, what we're compelled to do. And Joseph Campbell said it best. He said, follow your bliss. So when you feel that rush of energy, that's your path. And you can align with that. And there can be a good green energy exchange there. So that's a firework test to keep in mind as we go through this content. I'd like to introduce Global Family Yoga to you. Global Family Yoga is a family. It's myself, Mira Binzen, in the center of the picture, my sister Stephanie to my right, and my mom, Cheryl, to my left. And the three of us, 10 years ago, created Global Family Yoga as a way for our family to reach out and serve the global family. We knew that the more children practicing yoga on earth, the more peace and connection we would all experience. And it's really a time for this. So we're excited to see the rapid growth and the increased understanding and awareness of the benefits of yoga for children. So that's our mission, that's our path, and that's our passion. And it's such a pleasure and such an honor to work with my mom and sister. And each one of us has our unique skill set that we bring together. And those of you who have come to our multi-day trainings have had a chance to spend time with all three of us. And it's really a wonderful family, the three of us, and then the Global Family Yoga family too. And so that's who we are. And I myself have a background in child psychology. I've been working as a developmental therapist and then found yoga and was like, oh yeah, this is exactly what kids need. So I've been teaching yoga to children since 1999, and I've been training others to teach yoga to children since 2002. And so I want to share with you all the different ways I've made a living teaching yoga to children and the way many members of our community are also making a living teaching yoga to children. In addition to making a living, of course, there's tremendous benefits to knowing that you're making a difference in the world. And so for me, the freedom in my schedule and knowing that I'm making a difference in the world definitely goes into my ledger when I'm adding up what I'm making. So who are you? You are on this call according to the survey results. Yoga teachers, some of you are already certified kids yoga teachers. You've been out there in a while. Maybe you're experiencing a little burnout, and I'm going to give you some of my strategies for avoiding burnout. Maybe you're looking into the possibility of becoming a kids yoga teacher. Some of you are also professionals. You're working as a social worker, a pediatric professional like an occupational therapist or physical therapist, and a lot of parents are on the call as well. So you've got kids in your life, you've got yoga in your life, and you're looking how to help your kids experience yoga because it's not your parents' yoga class. So there's a lot of different ways that we can get yoga into the kids' lives. So this webinar is for you if you're already teaching yoga to kids and you want to make the most of your talent and your schedule, or you're considering it and you want to assess how viable this is as a profession. And I know for a fact I get a lot of phone calls, and yes, 98% of our graduates are women. We've had some guys come through the program as well, so welcome if you're on this call as well. And a lot of times the husbands are asking like, yeah, you want to spend this money on the certificate, but how are you going to make money? And so this is for the husbands if you're on the call, or if you're going to report back to your husbands. We're going to share some stats and figures and facts too. So that's for you too. You were born to make a difference, and teaching yoga to children is a powerful way to positively impact your community and the world. So today you're going to discover the world of a professional children's yoga teacher, and I'm so excited to share it with you because I just returned from the SITAR conference, which is the International Association of Yoga Therapists conference, and it was both humbling and an honor to really recognize that a yoga therapist is a legit profession. There were Harvard professors there, researchers, doctors from a variety of specialties, and professionals across all healing fields there to find out more about the therapeutic applications of yoga. And the same is true for teaching yoga to children in the general population. It's gaining a lot of credibility as more research comes out, and the demand for qualified children's yoga teachers is exploding. Mindfulness is the buzzword, and yoga is mindfulness. It's the science of the mind, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the community. Today, you'll be able to envision and start to bring to form your ideal life as a children's yoga teacher. Specifically, what you will have is an outline for building a profession as a kids yoga teacher. And I'm going to teach you as much as I can in the limited time we have together, and before I conclude, I promise I'll show you how to take it further. I was telling a group of kids in my kids yoga class the other day that many adults don't even know how to regulate their breath and calm their mind. And look at some of the things adults are doing in our world today. By learning yoga, I tell the kids, are going to be a positive force for good in the world your whole life. And so that's what we're doing when we're teaching kids yoga. We're giving them an incredible foundation. Adults say they can't meditate because they've had this crazy mind their whole lives. Kids' minds are fresh and they're ready for these habits. And it's just the best thing we can do is start teaching kids yoga. So why exactly would we teach kids yoga? First of all, you can help a child find peace, calm, and connection regardless of changing circumstances in life. And one way we talk about this is stress hardiness. You can help a child realize their full potential, like really be who they came here to be. Yoga can improve a child's life in all areas: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And you can be a part of the rapidly expanding holistic mindfulness movement. And honestly, because don't you wish you had yoga as a child? I know my mom probably wishes I had yoga as a child. Imagine setting your own schedule, doing work you love, and making a difference. So who's practicing yoga? There was a big research study done by Yoga Journal, of course, for their people they want to sell the ads to. They want to know how many people they're reaching in 2012. And it was estimated that 20 million people are practicing yoga. That's a significant number. And here's what's really significant. An additional 104 million people want to practice yoga, but they haven't made it to a studio yet. They haven't made it to a class, but they recognize, because of all the research and the news that's coming out, that there's some benefit to yoga. And 100 million people have said in a survey, yeah, I'd like to try yoga. So you have a wide and deep student base. There is, if you look at the market research, there's a market for this. Currently, about 10% of the total population in America is practicing yoga, and this is really huge. 10% of the population is left-handed, so it's me among them, but it's definitely a significant market share. So when you're looking at is this viable? Do people really want yoga? The answer is yes, and it's growing rapidly. One of the presenters at the SITAR conference I just mentioned, his name is Satbir, and he's a wonderful yogi and a Harvard researcher, and a leading researcher in the world on the benefits of yoga. He was like, this is unprecedented. It's doubling, and it's way more. It's growing way faster than a thing would naturally grow, he was saying. He said it much more eloquently than I just did, but he was like, wow, it's growing fast and it's growing a lot. So where can you teach yoga to children? Well, it's a lot of different places. You can teach at school, and not just at school, but there's so many different options within at school. So start taking your notes. You can teach before school. You can teach after school. And an after school program might involve the parents organizing it and paying you directly, or it might be something that the school organizes. Now, who do you approach when you want to teach at a school? Not necessarily the principal. You might want to approach the PE teacher, or your child's classroom teacher, or an interested parent or teacher, somebody who's already interested in yoga and can be your liaison to get you into the school. So each school has its own unique setup, and so there's no one systematic way to do it. Just start getting out there and networking, telling people you're interested in sharing the practice of yoga with children, and see what happens. You can teach in private schools. You can teach in public schools. You can teach homeschool groups. They're oftentimes looking for activities. They might be homeschooling individually, but then they get together for certain activities. So reach out to homeschool groups, and also daycare centers. Daycare centers are a great way to, and all of these homeschool and daycare centers, if you've got kids at home and your kids are coming home at 3 or 4 o'clock, and you don't want to be teaching an after-school yoga class, you can teach in schools during the day. So that's a great way when you start figuring out what you want your schedule to be, and when you want to be teaching and when you want to be home. Teaching at schools and daycare centers during the day is a great way to do that. Another wonderful place to share the practice of yoga with children is in parks or in community centers. Every city and every county has some kind of a community center, and you can go to them and let them know what you're doing, and you can set it up formally, or sometimes you can just do it casually without going through the whole system. So again, it depends on if you live in Chicago, which is a huge city with a big park system and a lot of bureaucracy around that park system, or if you live in a small neighborhood, it might not be as formal, where you can just like show up to the park and let your friends know and everybody teaches. So being outside and teaching is a great way to do that, especially in the summer. And also, in addition to parks and community centers, summer camps are a great way to share the practice of yoga. And summer camps that are already established are also looking for programming. So you don't have to run your whole own summer camp. You certainly can, and a lot of our teachers do. But you can go to an existing summer camp and say, hey, I'll offer a yoga program 1 hour a day, 5 days a week. Or I just participated in a summer yoga camp where I went and taught 1 hour a week. I taught 2 different groups, and so that was their 1 day a week programming. And if you are going to teach in a summer camp, you want to start organizing that about January or February. The big summer camps start to fill up in March, and so start thinking ahead for summer. And in general, when you're talking about your fall schedule, you should be organizing that in February, March, April. And when you're talking about your summer schedule, you should be organizing that in January. We'll talk more about scheduling too. You can certainly teach yoga in yoga studios. It's a pretty elite crowd of children that end up in a yoga studio. They need to have transportation. They need to have a parent who's engaged and involved in some way in yoga. And oftentimes it is the children of the yoga studios students that come to your class. I've taught a lot of classes at yoga studios, and it's a lot of fun. And I recommend that you run them in sessions. I don't recommend drop-in classes because you don't know how many kids are going to show up. Sometimes it's 2 kids, sometimes it's 12 kids. It's different kids each week, and you get a lot more continuity and a lot more cohesion in the group if you start a session, mid-September, run it for 6 weeks, run a second session for 6 weeks, break for the holidays, that kind of thing. So if you are going to teach at a yoga studio, after school time is good, between 3:30 and 5:30 to start, and run it in sessions, start and end. What about makeups? What about all this stuff? Usually I don't do makeups, but I'll also offer a drop-in price. So the session is this set price, and drop-ins are a little bit more, so you can choose convenience or savings. That works. A great thing to teach in yoga studios is family yoga classes, and that's the one that sends my fireworks going. I really love teaching family yoga. It's just, I love it. So I've been doing it for a long time, and it's great to teach in yoga studios because Saturday afternoons are a great time to offer family yoga, and the studios are usually available. Their morning classes are packed, and then the afternoons their studios are empty. So it's a great offering, and we're creating an e-course for family yoga. So if you're already teaching yoga and you want the specific techniques for teaching this really complicated class, we've got an e-course coming up. So I'm really excited about that. Also, you can teach in libraries. I am a huge advocate of literacy. I think literacy is extremely important in being able to make it out there in the world. And so you can incorporate yoga and reading. And at a public library, there may be some rules about, they can't pay you. So find out what their rules are. But also ask if you can hand out your promotional material. So have a little postcard with your 6-week session that you're offering at the yoga studio down the street. Come to the library, do a story time reading, yoga practice, and then hand out your information. And so I just did this at the Milwaukee Public Library. It was wonderful. So it was out in the open. Kids were coming and going. And we read this book, Duck on a Bike, my all-time favorite book. And anybody who's taken our training knows that. And it was really fun because you've got the kids participating, but you've also got people looking. And so they're like, oh, that's what yoga is about. A lot of people still don't know, even though there's 10 million people practicing, a lot of people don't understand what kids yoga is all about. So if you can get out there into a public setting and do some yoga with kids and people can kind of see it and look without any risk, and then you can hand them some information, that's a great way to get your name out there and to get some students to come in who otherwise might not make the leap into signing up for one of your sessions. Also, sports teams are a great way to teach yoga. This is a great thing because you get paid a set fee. So you don't have to get paid per student, you get paid by the hour. So we'll talk about this more too, but some of your gigs are going to be by the hour and some of your gigs are going to be a cut based on student participation. Gymnasts need stability. Soccer players need stretching. All sports participants need to have their head in the game. They need to have a cool head and they need to relax and they need to stretch. And the number one reason athletes seek out yoga is for injury prevention. So when you're promoting yoga to the sports team of your choice, talk about injury prevention. Hockey players need yoga, football players need yoga, and it's a set group of kids. They're already together as a team. Approach the coach and say, hey, do your kids get upset when they lose? Are they getting injuries? Are they all this kind of thing? And yoga can really help. So a sports team is a great way to go because it's a set group, it's a set time, it's a set place. All you need to do is walk in and share the magical gift of yoga with them. You can also teach private in-home sessions. This can be a very lucrative option. I did this quite a bit when I was living in Chicago, and families would call me up from the articles that I wrote in Yoga Chicago, which I still write for Yoga Chicago, and they would say, hey, will you come and teach my family yoga? And it's so much fun. It's really nice to get into a family's home and have that personal time with them and their dog and whoever else is around. So it could be one child and one parent. It could be two parents and a child. It could be a bunch of kids. It's whatever the family is. I taught one family for a while, and it was 2 boys, and the dad was a pilot. So he was there once in a while, but not all the time. And when he was, it was so fun because the boys would be like, look what we're doing. And they would share that. And so one of the boys really benefited from the self-regulation skills that he was learning in yoga, and his brother was having a lot of fun doing the challenging arm balances, and I was really able to tailor that practice for their specific needs and to work it into their family life and give them all kinds of yoga lifestyle skills. So teaching in homes is a really nice opportunity as well, and it works well on your schedule because you can schedule it whenever works well for both parties. Birthday parties are super fun. Birthday parties also can be pretty lucrative because people are paying a lot of money for birthday parties, whatever it is, a magician, the horse going to the splat ball game place, and so to find out about how to set your rates, look what other people are charging for birthday parties. Like, what does the magician charge for the birthday party? What are people paying to go to the bounce house place? And make it, there's an article that I wrote about birthday parties. that you can refer to for more details and tips and hints on that. And, for some of you, you're going to be like, oh yeah, birthday parties, that sounds like a blast. And that will be your specialty, and that will be something that you get known for, and your name will get passed around as the go-to person for yoga birthday parties. And some of you are going to be like, whoa, I'm not doing that. That's a little too much sugar for me. And that's where I am at now. I used to do a lot of birthday parties, and now I'm like, no, I'm not doing that these days. And so you're going to find the things that resonate with you, your interests, what your community needs, what you want to put in your schedule, and what makes your heart sing with joy. So that's how you put together your personalized schedule as a kids yoga teacher. Also, Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, like sports teams, it's a set group. They're already together, they're already gathering for a common purpose, and they actually have a yoga badge. And so again, you can reach out to all of the different troops in your community. If it's a small community, there may just be a few troops. Or again, if you're in a major metropolis, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of troops. And so the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts are a great way to get out there. And again, they'll pay you a set fee. And bring your cards and say, oh, by the way, I'm offering this 6-week class at the neighborhood yoga studio as well. Or, oh, I do birthday parties as well. So you want to get some kind of promotional material together so that you can give your information to people wherever you are. And toddlers, this is another one that sends the fireworks in my heart. I really love teaching toddlers, and it goes back and forth, like the age and the population and the kinds of kids I'm enjoying teaching. It really has ebbed and flowed over these last 15 years of teaching kids yoga. I remember one of the first classes I taught as part of my certification. It's like, go out and teach a class and write up your results like we do in our certification program. And it was a group of 5-year-olds, my good friend's 5-year-old daughter in her kindergarten classroom. And it was such a thrill. Oh my gosh, it was such a thrill. And now she's 22 years old. So I was like, oh, that was a while ago. But toddlers are fun too. So 2 and 3-year-olds, again, it takes a real special person and a real special set of skills to teach toddlers yoga. But if that's your thing and that's what you want to do, you're going to really be successful at it. Parents with young children are really, really looking for activities, and they're frazzled. They need yoga. And so the toddler time yoga that we teach, it includes yoga for the caregiver as well. So the caregivers participate, they get to breathe, they get to stretch, they get to relax. The kids are engaged. We really focus on language development and gross motor movement and all of that. And we also have an e-course. This one's already made. Family yoga's on the way. Toddler time yoga. So again, if you're already a yoga teacher and you just want a few special skills and techniques and a set system, like a done-for-you system, this is how to run a toddler time yoga class, we've got that available for you as well. And again, as far as your schedule goes, weekdays at 10 a.m. is the perfect time to offer toddler time yoga. So if you've got kids coming home after school and you want to teach during the day, not after school times, which is a popular time for kids yoga, toddlers and daycare centers too is definitely a great option for you. So this is a family yoga class, which I love to teach all ages from age 5 and up. It's pretty complicated. There's a lot of moving parts, but again, it's really fun. And two, I've had a lot of family yoga classes where there's 50 people in the class, and that sounds like, whoa, that's a really big class. But if 20 people sign up, they each are going to bring at least one other person. And so for a Saturday afternoon workshop, again, it's a pretty lucrative offering. All right, let's talk about our schedule. So if you've got your pen and paper handy, what you want to do, I like to play this game. I like to say, let's say you and me meet next year. And you're like, oh my gosh, after listening to that webinar, I implemented all these ideas. I got my schedule in order, and this is my schedule, and I love it. It's perfect. It's exactly what I want to be doing. Write that down. Don't start with what you can do. Don't start with what you're doing right now. Start with what you want to be doing and put it out far enough, like a year or 2 years, so it doesn't stress you out about getting there right now. And so do you want to teach on the weekends or not? If you don't want to teach on the weekends, don't take a lot of weekend gigs. Don't say yes to a lot of weekend opportunities. Trust that you'll be guided to your best practices in a schedule that's suitable for you and your family. If you want to teach 4 days a week, 5 days a week from 3 to 5 p.m. after school, go for it. If you don't, then don't start taking those kinds of gigs. So rather than thinking, oh, what's available? What can I teach? Start thinking about, what do I want to teach, and where and when do I want to teach it? If you want to teach all in the morning, then look at teaching at schools, look at teaching toddler time yoga, look at teaching in daycare centers. So things that are already going on during the week. Also sports teams, sometimes you can get in the morning. Some of you are early morning people, and you can teach at 6 and 7 in the morning before school. So real serious athletes are doing this kind of thing. They're like, yeah, I'll take a yoga class before school starts. So tailor your schedule to suit your personal life. This is one of the absolute best things about being a yoga teacher. You're an entrepreneur. It's your business. It's your life. You get to set your schedule. So that's one of the big perks, is that your schedule is your own. So make sure that you're in charge of your schedule and not letting other people be in charge of your schedule. And this is the ultimate in work-life balance. As far as weekends, I don't like to do things every single weekend, but weekends are a very popular time. So I do family yoga workshops, and I do them one a month. So one a month is a very popular setup for me personally, because I don't want to work every single Saturday, but I also want to offer something to my community at a time that's good for them. So for me, working once a month on the weekends is just fine. And I run these certification courses on the weekend too, so that's taking my weekends as well, which again, I'm happy to do because I know that's when people can access it. So that's my work-life balance, is I really want to provide this at a time that's workable for other people, and I don't want to have every single weekend scheduled. And so make sure that that works for you too. I talked about running sessions rather than ongoing drop-in, like here's when it starts, here's when it stops, here's my set fee, or here's the ratio. And as far as the studio goes, talk to the studio owner or manager about what their setup is. Do they have a split? What is it? That kind of thing. And that varies from studio to studio. And a lot of times when you approach a yoga studio about offering kids yoga classes, they don't have a set system yet. So you can kind of offer something like, here's what you could do. And they'll be like, oh, that's a great idea. So again, go in thinking, what's my best case scenario? What would I love to have happen here? And start there rather than like, oh, what are they going to want from me? When I first started teaching kids yoga at the St. Paul Yoga Center, which was 100 years ago, they didn't take anything at all. They let me take 100% of the take. The kids were paying $5 each. And so I'd have, 6 kids. That's not a ton of money, but they were like, oh, you don't need to give us anything. We just want to have kids yoga here. So that was really cool that they saw this was something new and I was just getting started, and they just basically donated the studio space to me. And so if you are in a place that doesn't have kids yoga going on at the studios yet, suggest that. You can even say, well, that's how Mira Benson started. So really open your view so you have a lot of options available for you and all different possibilities. Also for schedule, I like to go by season. So you've got sessions that you're running. I usually start about mid-September. People are back in school. They've made that huge shift from summer to school, which I know not everybody makes, but and then I usually break early to mid-December, couple weeks for the holidays, and then I usually start the first, second, or even third week in January. So I really like to run with the seasons. So a couple of sessions in the fall, a few more sessions winter, spring, and then my schedule shifts in the summer where I was doing weekly sessions. Now I'm doing a week-long kids camp, that kind of a thing. So really look at your whole year and put it on a cycle. So it's a cycle that matches, if you have your own kids, it matches their school schedule and your vacations, which everybody must take a vacation. That's part of work-life balance and living a yoga lifestyle. And so really look out into the future. It's like, what do I want to be teaching and where can I go to fill those spots? Not like, oh, what's available and who's going to take me as a teacher. So you want to shift that mindset into being, creating your own reality. Woo! All right, let's talk about money. Now, I have to tell you that the style of yoga I was trained to teach, Shivananda, is a very traditional classical style of yoga. I spent 30 days in an ashram, which is a very, strict sort of monastery type setting. And it's very traditional. So it's like money's bad, money's evil, material possessions are the root of your suffering, desire is going to take you down, and really, really strong message that, the material world is the cause of our suffering. And so, there's some truth to that. Attachment certainly does cause us some some challenges in life. But when I came back from India after getting certified to teach and spending quite a lot of time in India and quite a lot of time in this mindset of like, yeah, we're all one and it's really about the spiritual world and not the material world. When I came back to the United States to start teaching, I was honestly in tears. I can't charge money for yoga. Yoga's supposed to be free. And I really had a hard time getting into this green energy flow with yoga. But the fact is, we have a really incredible skill and talent. If you've taken our certification program, you're very well qualified. And it's worth something. It has value. And in our society, the more you pay for something, the more value is attached to it. So we really need to step into our power and step into our worth. There is an exchange. It's an energy exchange. And money is a powerful form of energy. And that's all it is. It's a form of energy. And so to ask what you're worth is something that can be challenging for us yogis, our yoginis, where we just want to help, we want to do volunteer work, we want to help people who don't have access to this practice and all of that, which I fully 100% support, and it's about work-life balance. So I'm going to share with you now my teacher's formula for what to charge. It's pretty hilarious and I like it. And I dare you to try it as well. And so this is Richard Miller, who's the founder of iRest Yoga Nidra. And people ask him, like, what do you charge? And he's like, well, I look at how much money I want for the year, a new car, vacation, put the kids through college, house payment, whatever. And then I look at how many hours I want to work, a week, a month. And then I divide that in, like how much do I need to make per hour if I want to work this many hours and make this much money? And he actually was charging quite a bit more than his teacher, his mentor. And his teacher was like, whoa, that's a lot. And he's like, well, that's what I want to make. And so I thought that's pretty cool. It's pretty authentic. It's like, here's what I want to make doing what I do. And those people who recognize that value will pay me such. Also, too, please consider your experience and your training, right? If you're brand new, you don't have any experience, you haven't had a lot of training, be ethical about what you're asking. That's something to consider as well. But also, too, when you think about any other service out there in the world, from hairstylists to restaurants and what they charge for food, right? There's a huge range. There's a huge range. So some people are charging $20 for something, and some people are charging $220 for that same thing. And it's up to the consumer to choose what they perceive to have value. And it's up to us as individuals is to align our worth and our value with this number. And so it's really subjective. It's totally up to you. Use your integrity when you're charging based on your experience and your training and your level of comfort with what you're offering, I think is a big factor as well. And another thing too is that if you start with a number that you're willing to settle for, it's never going to be more than that. So if you want to start a little bit higher, then you can say, oh, well, I'll come down. And then they feel like they're getting a great offer and you feel like you're getting paid what you want to get paid. But try not to get into the situation of getting undercut to the point where you're really not making what it's worth. For example, if you charge $25 for your yoga class, you're not getting $25 an hour because it takes you time to prepare for that class. It takes you time to travel to and from that class. And it really is it's one source of burnout. And so my big tip for avoiding burnout is ask what you're worth and get what you're worth, and stack your classes. That's probably the biggest tip, is stack your classes. Instead of going out and teaching one class, try to teach 2 or 3 classes at that same place back to back. I do that a lot. I'll go into school and I'll teach 4 to 7-year-olds, and then I'll teach the 8 to 12-year-olds. So stack your classes, stack your schedule. I've got it down to a science now where I teach 90% of my classes on one day. I go out, I teach, I'm in teacher mode, I've got my listening bells in my pocket, off I go, and then the other days I'm doing all the organizational stuff that needs to happen to run Global Family Yoga. So with setting your fees, again, sit down, breathe, feel it into your tummy. Is there fireworks? Is there constriction? What's true for you? And something I do in our trainings when we talk about this, I say, well, how much is too much? Would you pay $5? Oh no, that's not enough. What about $500? Oh no, that's too much. Okay, well, keep going up and down on either side until you get to the number that feels right for you. It really is subjective. So when you're setting your fees, Again, it's an emerging field, so there's not a real set amount for what people are paying. It's got to be something that people recognize the value for, and that comes from you clearly describing what you do and the transformational value, the benefits that the kids are going to get from practicing yoga with you. So let's review all the places where you can share your work in the world, make a living doing the work you love, or where your deep gladness meets the world's deep hunger. You can teach kids yoga at school. You can teach before or after the school day, also during the school day. You can teach at public schools and private schools. You can teach homeschool groups or individual families and daycare centers. You can also teach at community centers, in the community parks, at summer camps, yoga studios, libraries, and sports teams, any kind of sport, including chess. There's a great chess program in the northern Chicagoland area, and they have yoga teachers come in and teach their chess players. Also private in-home sessions, birthday parties, girl, boy scouts, toddler time yoga, and family yoga. So you have a lot to choose from. Nobody does all of these. You choose the ones that resonate with you, that give you that fireworks in your heart feeling, and you make a name for yourself with these different specialties that are a good fit for your personality and your schedule and your interests and your training. So some examples I said I would share with you. This is one of our graduates. Her name is Shelly. She's a registered children's yoga teacher, and she does some really fun yoga classes in her home studio. So she's a parent, and she teaches kids classes in her home studio. She's got a great program called Yoga Art. So it's 30 minutes of yoga and 30 minutes of art, and it's a wildly popular class. The neighborhood kids are thrilled to take that class with her. She also does a class called Downward Doll, where the girls bring their dolls, and the boys bring their dolls too. She's told me the boys come too. And they bring their dolls and they teach their dolls yoga, which is also very popular and very fun. And this is her daughter with her. This is Brooke, who has a wonderful program called My Recess. She is an occupational therapist, and she combines yoga and occupational therapy, and she has a wonderful sensory gym, and she offers a variety of programming at her center, including yoga. So this is an example of a professional who's integrated the yoga teaching into her profession. And this is Erica Emmendorfer. She's a Chicago public school teacher, and she's really incorporated yoga into her classroom. She teaches first grade, and she has a peace island. She's written a blog for us about it, where she teaches the kids yoga, and then she lets them practice yoga on their own spontaneously throughout the day as needed. So here's an example of one of our graduates who's weaving yoga into her public school classroom setting. So whatever your interests are, there's definitely a way to do it. And the best way to get support for that is by becoming an Ohana member. And so I told you I'd how you to take it further if you want to. And this is really the best way to get support. It's a monthly program, and whatever you want to do in the world, you're going to be able to do it with more confidence and ease with these resources. So you get a detailed lesson plan each and every month. And this is also burnout prevention, because one thing teachers tell us is they get tired from having to plan something new every month. So we're feeding you content so you can get out there and do the work you love. You'll also get 20-minute audio workshops, kind of like what you're listening to right now, while we'll delve into deeper topics so you really understand the practice, the technology, and the science behind the principles and the practices that we do, so you can teach with confidence and skillfully, and your students are going to want to come back for more because you're such an awesome teacher. And also a children's yoga pose bank. This is a video bank of watching kids practice the yoga poses, watching me teach the kids. So you get the specific verbal cues, proper alignment cues, plus you get to see the way the kids are really practicing. So you have proper expectations for what's going on out there. And also it gives you confidence as a teacher. Personal Practice Bank is for you, because there's no nurturing anyone until you've nurtured yourself. And so 10-minute practices, 20-minute practices, 30-minute practices. Sometimes it's yoga nidra. Sometimes it's a challenging abdominally focused video practice. And so you have access to all of those all the time. So as long as you're a member, you have access. And our worldwide community. We have children's yoga teachers around the world that are sharing support, resources, ideas, encouragement, and love. It's a beautiful thing to be a part of. I know many of you on this call are already a part of our Ohana membership program. And the first 2 weeks are free, so you've got nothing to lose. You can try it out, see if it's a good fit for you for the first 2 weeks. Also, if you're not already a certified children's yoga teacher, do consider taking our training. We're the first school registered with Yoga Alliance. We've been a registered school with Yoga Alliance since 2005. We have a proven signature system. So a lot of kids' yoga trainings, you'll have fun, you'll play games, you'll learn songs and stories. But what we've heard from teachers is they get out into the field and they realize it's not sustainable. They don't have the structure that they need to teach over and over and over and over again. So we give you a proven signature system that you can use, and that shows up in our lesson plans as well. So it's a set system, a scaffolding upon which you can build. Also, our training is rooted in child development. As I said earlier, I have a degree in child psychology, and that informs our content. We are trauma sensitive, and we understand that many kids have been exposed to trauma, and you want to provide a safe and nurturing environment for all your students, even when you might not know their history. Also, unparalleled support. That's where Stephanie and Cheryl come in. Anyone who's ever interacted with my mom, with Cheryl, knows what a gem she is, and we're here for you to support your work in the world. That's our mission. And also, we are a part of an unbroken lineage. I'm in close relationship with my teachers who are master teachers, and they are in close relationship with their teachers. And so we're under the umbrella of a strong tradition. We're not just making this up. It's rooted in a deep understanding of the transformative science of yoga. And so when you study with us, those are the resources that you'll get. I've made several references to different online courses, our Ohana membership program, blogs, and articles, and so we'll leave you links so you can continue to peruse this topic and have the resources that you need. And please contact us with any questions. I'll take questions. And thank you so much for taking the time to look into the life of a children's yoga teacher.